Welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. We have Kim Stanwood Terranova, and we're talking about her book, The Technology of Intention. And in the previous segment, in part one, we were talking about the chaos that we're feeling and the emotions that we may be feeling that keep us from not feeling grounded. And Kim was talking about the importance during these times to feel grounded and centered. And so in this segment, we're going to talk about grief. Kim had shared in the previous segment how she lost her home and retreat center during the fires in Malibu, and now is living in an airstream on that property. And so many people are grieving either the love of a lost one, the loss of a job, the loss of a home. There's so many things that people are grieving now, and so I was hoping you could cover some practices and tools that people can use if they're finding themselves in grief.
Absolutely. You know that with grief, the important thing for us to always remember is it's not to be denied. It's not to be minimized. You
Hmm.
know, so often our loved ones who can have well intentions, but it's okay, we're going to move through this, and we will move through it. And the moments that we still have to honor, this is hard. And this, when I arrived at this property and my home that I'd known for years and everything I'd ever had was gone, if I didn't allow myself to fall to my knees, burst into tears, and however many days I needed to keep crying, I needed to keep crying so that it's not, we're never to do a spiritual bypass and say, everything's going to be good. When we know overall we'll move through this, but we have to honor where we're at. And with grief, it must be honored. And part of that is feeling it and trusting the individuals we're walking with to hear us. Or if we don't have someone to walk with, that we're journaling it, that we're having a process to know this is what I'm feeling and knowing. And simultaneously, we always remember there's still a power and presence that's more than us, that is loving us, guiding us through it. So the
Mm,
practices to heal and assist in grief, I want to say
mm,
more than heal, is to be in the practice of gentleness of our soul, to be journaling, to be processing out loud, to be connecting to the earth, to really know whatever I'm feeling, I'm moving through. You know, that it's not stopping me. These feelings I'm feeling, but I'm moving through them. They are not going to be with me forever.
mm.
And
Oh, yep. So I have a couple of follow-on questions on the various ideas that you just shared. So, the spiritual bypass is the idea of, for me, I just view it as like you have a frowny face and you're just smiling, putting smiley faces on everything. Oh, I'm in such gratitude about the sun. You're feeling something, you're not necessarily honoring where you're at, which is in some ways not honoring or hearing your own emotional, crying out self help, needing for that. And so the question I have is, there's this kind of like, oh, you get to toughen up, or if I go down this well of misery, I'll just keep on going down and I'll never come up, or um, I'm being too self indulgent. So what do you say for those, ideas that I've heard other people say about grief?
and I want to go. I'm going to address those, and also I want to say when we're in it, and this actually addresses those. It is really wonderful to have someone with us helping us. You know, I
Hmm.
have a client this morning that her son just took his life 6 months ago, and she
Mm,
is regular part of her practice. Is she's in sessions with me every week, doesn't miss it to move through her grief, so she's not alone. And so I don't want to miss that, that a good spiritual counselor, a therapist, a doctor to help one move through that is
mhm,
important to keep
mhm,
them afloat, that they're not going to spin down. I think
mhm,
in our human experience, it feels overwhelming. And if we have someone saying, I'm right here, I'm right, I'm not fixing it, but I'm walking with you and I'm not leaving you. I had a
mhm,
whole community walk with me, and say,
mm,
I'm right here. I know this is hard, and I'm going to be right here to you or in your house again someday. So, our ability to reach out and ask for help at times like that is so important. And that is one of the saving things, that we won't keep going down. and the tough it up, that we're raised in a society that there's just such it has to be in balance, that when we look at someone and say, come on, you can do it, we don't want to teeter into an expectation, which I speak about in the book, that you just got to get through it, or if you were strong enough you'd get through it. An expectation will keep us stuck longer. So that's where it's all about balance, that we don't spiritual bypass and go straight to I'm fine. We can feel and say, I'm really struggling right now. This is hard, but
Mm,
I'm going to move through it. And would you help me? And if you
mm,
know, could you walk with me? So,
mm,
and the spiritual bypass was one of my biggest growing edges, because when I
mm,
started on my spiritual path, I was a positive person anyway. And then when I got a license to do the work I do, it didn't feel safe for me. This was me to say, I'm really having a hard time. I felt like I had to always be like, everything's good. And part of my growing edge was I wasn't being authentic in the moments that
mm. Okay, I want to practice something because I this has been so interesting. I'll tell you what I get, and
good.
then I want to hear what would have happened if I talked to you at that time. What I get is like, "How are you doing?" Like I'll talk to my friends, "How are you doing?" "I'm fine. Everything's good. You know, my family's good." Like smiley faces plastered all over the place. Okay, and so, if I were to ask you to be authentically expressing and giving people permission to say really what's happening for them, if I were to run into you during that time and you wanted to reach out for help, because in some ways we don't even have the language to know how to do it, what would it have been like if I'm like, Kim, how are you doing? What would you have said at the time?
Great question. I first would have taken a huge deep breath. That's a practice. Like I want to just answer to you with an answer that's off my head. I want to answer you from my heart.
So you're keeping a deep breath to feel in your heart what you're feeling.
To get grounded. And then I would really be, because you're asking me a question about me, that's a sign of caring. So I'm going to
Hmm.
take time to be like, oh, wow, CJ, this is hard and it's scary. And I don't know where I'm going to live. And I don't know how I'm going to get clothes for my children. But I know there's a power bigger than me that's going to help me through this. So if you could just walk with me and check in with me and ask me how I'm doing. And I may need a coat or a pair of shoes if you've got them.
Okay, so asking for help, because really when someone is asking, how are you doing? They're saying, what can I do to help you? I know that you're having a tough time, but what can I do to help?
And it could just be hold me. It could just be say a prayer for me. It could just be keep me in your thoughts. Doesn't have to
Mm,
be, our doing nature doesn't have to be you have to fix it for me or I have to fix it for you. But goodness gracious, me holding the truth for you, that I could look at you, and this is what I do for my clients, and know I see absolutely what you're in the midst of and going through, but I also know you're a spiritual being. And so I'm aiming to that, to say my prayers are for you to absolutely come into alignment, for all needs met, for there to be miracles in your healing. I can know
mm,
that and not be in the same city or town or state or country as you.
hmm.
And
Yeah,
you're
so it's simple things like because I think sometimes we move to the casserole, like
yeah,
that's
good
the
way.
thing I know how to do because I'm like I don't know how to like it seems weird for me to say a prayer for you or and it may be hard for the person to even ask for a coat or shoes, which I'd be completely happy to do, but it's like I'm so and during those times when it's like I don't want to ask for that or it's too hard to how did you bring yourself to ask for help?
Well, I had this is a good where I was really blessed, is I had a lifetime of living these principles.
Mm,
So and I will say to people, and in the book I reference, there's many times that I had half the tools and not all of them, but the tools of living in spiritual practice, and intention being the biggest one, got me through the challenges. So when I didn't know how, I still had tools to reach. Like, okay, what can I do today? Can I set an intention? Can I be grateful for something that somebody miraculously gave me a place to sleep tonight? I'm just going to stand in gratitude for that.
mm,
Like, what can I participate in to stay centered in the midst of horrific circumstances? And
mm,
that's what I mean about the world right now. Not that they're horrific, we're just full. We have circumstances that are really intense right now.
mhm,
And we keep coming back to What can I participate in? So I'm
Mm,
centered in the world right now, so that
mm,
I'm being the beneficial presence that I came here to be. What tool can I grab? What is it my access to be in the midst of this challenging time?
mm. Okay, so I'm deducing that your intention during that time was to be centered, to be grounded, and to be authentically expressing from that place. Is that, or what would you say were your intentions during
I
that
had
time?
really big intention during that time. So I've been writing intentions forever. I know
Yes.
the power of them. When that fire hit, like the next 2 days, I said, "Okay, Spirit, what is my intention?"
Mm,
And I asked the question, like, "What is it supposed to be right now?" And I heard, like a lightning bolt came through me, said, "Flexibility. You have to be flexible." And I laughed. I went, "I'm a very flexible person.
right.
How can I be more flexible?" But what happened was when I took that on and I went, okay, my intention is to stay flexible and strong in this very, like just to be present.
Mm.
Yeah, I moved 6 times in 1 year.
Wow.
So if I wasn't flexible, it came to me later like, well, that's part of the reason you're supposed to be flexible. Now we're going here. Now, where am I going to see clients today? Oh, we're going to see clients there. Like I had to bend and flow because everything was unknown. So
Mm,
that's really important for people to know that an intention doesn't have to be to double my income. It could be, or to, buy that big, beautiful house. It could be as simple as what do I need and what is it I want today?
mm,
My intention
mm,
today is to stay centered. My intention today is to be kind and loving when I speak to others. It can be as simple as that. But if we don't aim with our intention, the universe is creating with us anyway. If we
mm.
don't, we're just creating unconsciously.
Yeah, and a new idea for me and the intention is just asking spirit at the moment, what is the intention for me today, which I would never have thought to do for whatever reason. I don't even know why, because I'm so goal oriented. I have the same intention every day because I'm trying to achieve a goal. But the idea of just tuning in for the day, like what is my, which of course makes more sense because it's being present with whatever is arising at the moment. I love that. Okay, we've been talking to Kim Stanwood Terranova about her book, The Technology of Intention, and talking about grief during these times. In the next segment, we're going to be talking about anger, blame, and judgment, which we hear a lot of right now, and how we actually can navigate those emotional feelings during this time. Thank you so much.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.